Harvard Medical School and I think it's Daily Mail did studies recently that show that women are way more depressed now than they've ever been. In the face of media catering to women, education, employment, legislation and employment are put in place that favors women. With so many opportunities that women have today than they've ever had, why are women more depressed now than they've ever been? So I'm going to read a little from both these articles, then I'm just going to chime in on what I think, or just expand on what I'm going to read about. And along with that depression, you find that women tend to have three different outlets for that. One is antidepressants, the other one is therapy, and the third is wine. And if you Google that, wine and women, you will find some of the articles. BBC did a whole video, a whole documentary on it. Why so many women consuming wine now. First, I'm going to read from the Daily Mail. Right now, I'll read a little bit of it, then I'm going to jump in. So the pressure on young women to have it all is making their health suffer, and twice as many are at risk of burnout compared to 30 years ago, while men rate their health as better. So you have men rating their health as better now, right? And women rating it as theirs is on the decline, mental health, right? So that's according to a study that reveals twice as many females nowadays are at risk of burnout compared to almost 30 years ago, right? So the daughters of a lot of the Generation X and some baby boomers are dealing with more depression than their mothers were dealing with, right? And they have more opportunity now, right? You go on social media, you look at the likes and the followers of your average female, who may not even be beautiful. It's like outstanding compared to her male counterpart, right? So the average woman may have something. You'll see women that aren't even famous with something like 30,000 followers, and a guy equivalent to her with like something like, maybe if he's lucky, if he gets 20, right? So in 1990, 8.5% rated their health as being worse than peers in their own age group. By 2014, this trend has increased by 20%. In contrast, men rated their health as better at the end of the study period compared to the start. Scientists say the findings could have implications for their long-term health as they are more likely to develop diseases as they get older. And these findings came from long-term studies of men and women between the ages of 25 and 34. That's when men and women should be their most confident, getting established, finding themselves, coming out of bad relationships, coming out of good relationships, and really finding themselves when they're most vibrant. And women are suffering from depression. So now I'm going to go to this other article on my screen. Please bear with me, from Harvard Medical Health. So what they say are some of the factors are genes, genetics, hormones, and stress, right? So now I'm going to expand on some of that. The pressure on women to be perfect to me, is what is driving a lot of women crazy. It's destroying them because it wound up being twofold, right? Told women that you could have a career, you could be the great mom, you could be the best wife, you could still hang out with your girlfriends and still go out to clubs and meet new guys. It's so much contradiction in it that anyone could break down, because women are torn. They don't know where to turn. They don't know what to be, right? They want to be number one at their jobs. They want to have great careers. They want to be able to provide for their children. And then there's a contradiction that if they have a man, that they're betraying feminism, right? So some women feel pressure to destroy their relationships because they don't know what to do. They think that when they need a man, that there's a problem, right? And when they don't have a man, they feel like they're not attractive. They feel like they failed. They feel like something's wrong with them, or that men have abandoned women, or that men don't want a strong woman. I mean, they're told so many contradictions. But now why are men happier? Because now, because of the pressures for women to be able to do everything, and the accountability is not really spoken of, like the side effects, the accountabilities are not discussed. So a lot of women are finding out the hard way what this lifestyle does, how it impacts their children. Children now, our prison rate has skyrocketed, right? But the more women that have gone into the workforce of prison, and the more men that have now decided to just have kids and not get married, make no commitments, the children are suffering, right? So a lot of the millennials and the Zen generation are those children. So you see that generation is growing up with the mental illness. A lot of the women, the stress of those decisions that was made by the baby boomers and Generation X. So women feel this pressure to be perfect. They feel like they have to look like a Barbie the rest of their lives. But at the same time, they're told that is sexist and that they can be unhealthy and obese. And I'm not knocking anyone. It's telling them that that's also healthy. That's good body image. So they're constantly being taught. They're told two diametrically opposing philosophies and everything: family, relationships, job. Diametrically opposing philosophies. For one, is you're supposed to go to college, right, and get all of this debt, then get a job that's going to pay you enough to pay off that debt. But then you're told that, hey, a man that loves you will come in and step in and be a provider. So they're also told to want a man that's a provider, but at the same time reject a man that's a provider. Women are told that, yes, you can still be promiscuous with no string attached, and I'm not knocking anyone, but you don't have to be selective about the man that you pick when you do this. So a lot of times these women are running out here and they're going for these guys that look great, they're fit, guys that may not even be employed. These guys that are maybe underachievers. And they willingly sleep with these men, take those risks, unprotected sex, and wind up pregnant now. So now they're with a child from a man that can't provide and won't provide. Right? But society didn't tell them that. Women are told that, hey, you can be as free as you want. You're a woman. No one could put any constraints on your sexuality. So in doing that, what happens is now you get pregnant by one of these bad boys or one of these losers. And that's when life begins, right? That's when the reality starts to sink in, when it's too late, that lifestyle is destructive. The diametrically opposing philosophies are destructive. So now they have a kid, and now this creates a lot of anger in some women. And that's where I think some of the mental illness starts to come in, and the depression. Now you have a child that you really didn't want. Either they didn't believe in abortion, right? Or they wanted to keep the genes of that guy, right? With the idea that, I can always find a man to take care of my child. A lot of women really believe this, and they can. Some of them, a lot of women can. But they're not thinking about the child in that case. How's the child going to come up in that, right? So a lot of women make this decision that they're going to just fool around with some guy and get a kid, get a child out of that. And it's a real child. It's not a doll baby, right? And this can create a lot of stress in women. Another thing that I think that impacts it is dating, right? Why are a lot of men happier? Because for men now, a lot of that responsibility is gone. Men no longer have to pay for dates. They no longer have to take care of a woman. They no longer have to move a woman in. They can just sleep with a woman, even get some of them pregnant and walk away, right? And this used to be something that people used to isolate just strictly to the Black community. But if you look at the U.S. Bureau of Statistics, hey, those numbers are now they're rising in every other culture, right? Because this philosophy for women to have it all is gone abroad. That's why you see in Korea, the divorce rate is skyrocketing. China, this philosophy has gone abroad, and it's taught in the form of in liberation, freedom. Who wouldn't jump on board for that? But none of the side effects are taught. They're not taught on what this does to children. They're not taught on what this does to family, but this does on a woman's long-term quality of life. Statistics show single mothers make up one of the highest poverty rates, right? And statistics also show that for a woman to go into a different financial class, it's usually by partnering up with a man. And this is no insult to anyone. This is what it is, right? Usually a woman's lifestyle will change when she meets. And this has always happened, right? A lot of rich men would go for a little farm girl, a girl that comes from modest means, poor background, but if she's beautiful, if she has the genes that they're looking for to reproduce with, they'll take a woman like that and then turn her life around. Lady Diana is a perfect example of that, right? People don't know that. She was poor. Her family started off with money, but then I don't know what happened with her parents, but they lost their wealth and she became poor. So when she met Prince Charles, he took her from being a poor girl to a legend, right? So I'm going to offer something productive in that. I think when it comes to depression, the best thing for women to do, women suffering that, is they have to start rejecting some of that negative philosophy. that they can have it all, be it all, that they're supposed to be in charge. They're supposed to control everything. No one person is an island. And I think once they start to reject that and they start to admit to themselves, there's nothing wrong with looking for a man to take care of you. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with saying you need help. But remember, you're going into a partnership. You're not there to dominate the other person. And I think that's what drives a lot of the men out the doors. A lot of women who do admit that, they think that with that comes them having to control the man and dominate him. And the two don't work out. And if they do find a man like that, a lot of times they're with a man they're not even happy with, because they know something's wrong with this picture. Why is this guy paying for my lifestyle and letting me walk all over him? And eventually they want out. Consuming less wine, because we all know that alcohol destroys brain cells, and brain cells don't reproduce. So therapy is, I think, a good idea. I'm not big on antidepressants. I've been on them before. They're not good for long term. If you can wean yourself off of them, do it. But I think having an honest talk with yourself or reaching out to someone, I think, is the best way. Do you know people that belong to religious groups? They're less likely in need therapy because they're surrounded by like-minded people, right? They can get help from their surrounding. Valuable help, healthy help, not toxic help. Like, I think a lot of women are surrounded by women that give them nothing but toxic advice. Girl, don't do this with him. Don't do that for him. Like, stuff that will destroy their family, destroy their relationship long term. Like, they give them bad advice. So I think having a good friend or reaching out to someone that really truly has your best interests at heart should be who you should talk to. I think talking to someone is the best solution to the mental illness and the stress, but also denouncing a lot of this negative philosophy, this burdensome philosophy put on women to be perfect, to have the perfect job, the perfect man, the perfect family, the perfect schedule, right? The perfect house, the perfect body, the perfect face, right? The perfect diet. You can't. Somewhere, no one could have it all, right? There's always some type of, that's why you have the 80-20 rule, right? In a relationship. And people will leave someone that gives them 80% for someone that gives them 20%. And we see, unfortunately, you have a lot of women in their marriages on good relationships that wind up destroying a good relationship because the man is lacking 20% of what they want. And they'll leave it for this one guy who's giving them that 20%. Abandon 80% for that, chasing that 20. And then they wind up losing 100%. Because a lot of times these guys that they're sacrificing their relationships for, once they get those guys, they get bored with them, or the guy realizes he doesn't want you full time. So anyway, I didn't make this video to bash women at all. I'm not one of these red pillars or black pillars. I'm not one of those type of guys. I still have hope for men and women, the relationship, the partnership, the union of family. Even though I know I may be old fashioned with that, I believe in the union of family because that's where I came from, right? So I'm going to preach that philosophy and I'm going to advocate for that family. So I hope you like this video. Please share and subscribe and comment. Thank you.